Shopify is a global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business and sell more with less effort thanks to the Shopify Magic, your AI-powered all-star. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/redcircle, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/redcircle now to grow your business no matter what stage you're in. Shopify.com/redcircle.
The following is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
This is All Things Elite. Welcome back to All Things Elite. Load up the pod, man, it's on when we speak. Rich right here, let me warm it up for Austin and Floyd. Couldn't be no one but the boys. When it come to All Things Elite from the fan perspective, swear, man, it ain't no question. Hear from them first. Swear, man, they putting in the work. No, they had to get me for the verse. Social Suplex Network's on. Hours at a time in your headphones. Austin and Floyd on the microphone. Backing out on the ring, getting in the zone. Pulling up the show, give it 7 stars, you already know. Who else could it be but the show with the proclivity for positivity? I'm gone.
Welcome to the 252nd episode of Social Suplex's podcast about AEW with a proclivity for positivity. Welcome to All Things Elite. I am your host, Floyd Johnson. And with me today, filling in for Austin, who is working at the same damn time. He's filling in for Austin on this very special 5th anniversary celebration of AEW Dynamite is the Lucha Professor, Mr. JR Perez. How you doing, JR?
I'm doing well. As we were recording, it is Friday, October 4th. It's still in Central California, a very hot and crisp 100-degree day. I will be completely honest, I can't wait till we get to Halloween. Just the simple fact is I'm tired of this, and I can't wait for hoodie season to come.
I am so happy because SmackDown is on the screen, and Nia Jax just came on the screen, and that just made me happy. So it's Nia time. She brought some chicken pink with her. I don't know. All right, so make sure you are downloading this fine podcast on YouTube Music or Apple Podcasts. Please leave a rating and review, and if you're so inclined, you can follow us at AT Elite Pod, at Social Suplex, at Austin Sumowitz, that's SZUMOWICZ, and at Floyd Johnson Jr. on Twitter. JR really doesn't like people to follow him on Twitter, but give him your Twitter anyway, JR.
My Twitter is at TGIF Professor, where you can find all things nostalgia, travel, and a little bit of wrestling every now and then.
All right. And also, I will start off the show and end the show, so I don't forget to do this and I don't just throw it in. Make sure you are visiting Chop Tees. There is a Social Suplex section. Click on any of the Social Suplex shirts. But if you're especially a fan of this show, you can go down to the Social Suplex section and click down and go to All Things Elite. We have, for your purchasing pleasure, we have 3 different t-shirts. We have 3 different hoodies. We have a baseball tee. And we have 2 different snapbacks. So go buy all the stuff so I can give all the money to Austin because, he does all the heavy lifting on the show. So, it's one of those things. This is a certain situation. You purchase it, you help support the show. We can buy better equipment. We can, actually have a little money. We can buy other merch, whatever we want to do. But if you want to support the show, to me, think this is the best way to do it. Buy merch, buy your friends merch, wear the merch to the show so everybody be like, hey, why does that say All Things Elite? What is that? And then you can point them to the show so they can hear me and Austin and sometimes JR talk our shit. How are you doing today, JR?
Oh, I'm doing great because it's Friday. Like I said, as I mentioned earlier, I can't wait for hoodie season, and I'm glad you mentioned Chop Tees because that dark heather hoodie looking pretty good, and I can't wait for it to get to November where it's cooler, and I can get a chance to put on some hoodies, and I like the All Things Elite one, but Other than that, we're just rocking and rolling. You know, we just started the university application cycle for the next year. So as those of you who don't know, I'm a college educator, so I do a lot of recruiting for my university back home, and it's always good to go out and talk to, you know, prospective applicants and encourage them, you know, the importance of education. So, and, you know, as you said, Friday we got more wrestling on, and that's one of the things I realize nowadays. And people talk about the Monday Night Wars, but we literally have wrestling guaranteed every single day, Monday through Saturday, and even a lot of Sundays if you look hard enough.
All right. Well, we are going to start the show, jump right in. I know you're used to this banter and me and Austin talking about sports, and I could do that. But I don't, like, honestly, I'm not in that great a mood to talk about college football. Everybody should know why if you know me. But let's jump right into the big story of the week. I am just going to start reading. It's finally official. After months of speculation and hints, AEW has officially signed a new multi-year rights deal with Warner Brothers Discovery. Per Variety, the financial terms of the deal have not been disclosed yet, but according to the sources, the deal is valued at upwards of $150 million per year when all elements are taken into account. That has been adjusted already since the beginning. Different reports have come out, and we've gotten confirmation from Sonra Slap, Dave Meltzer, that the deal is actually closer to $185 million per year. It's a 3-year odd deal with the option for a 4th year. With this new deal, AEW will continue to air Dynamite and Collision on TBS and TNT respectively. The added wrinkle is that AEW programming will stream live on Max for U.S. subscribers, and on-demand streaming will become available in January 2025. Dynamite and Collision will remain on their current network and days. There are no changes to those programs. Dynamite and Collision will stream live on Max. That they said that again. AEW content that airs on Warner Brothers Discovery properties will also be available to stream on Max On Demand. For now, there's no word on what will happen to AEW's vast content library or whether it will too be available on Max. Per the releases, starting later in 2025, AEW and Warner Brothers Discovery will offer live pay-per-views on Max at a discounted price per event, and all promotions and marketing of said events will center exclusively on Max. At this point, we have no financial details on pay-per-view split or what platforms the pay-per-views will remain available on, but the fact that the releases indicate that the promotions and marketing will center exclusively on Max and not that the shows will air exclusively on Max seem to indicate there will still be no outlets like traditional pay-per-view where you can still, watch AEW pay-per-views. There was conspicuous by their absence was no information on AEW's Friday Night Rampage, and semi-regular Battle of the Belt specials were not referred to or mentioned today. This whole update was from my trusted source, The Voices of Wrestling. That's who I get all my information from, because they definitely, they double check everything. So this was from their Patreon. Deal's done. JR, I will allow you to react first. 3-year deal, 4th year option. Looks like the number is about $185 million a year. And I will say this: it's between 170 and 185 million. I saw different numbers at this point. That number is because they're not necessarily a publicly traded company. They don't necessarily have to disclose that information. So JR. Big business, JR. And this was a great episode to have JR, because we were talking about the fan types. JR's the spreadsheet guy. He is success is measured on how much money you're bringing in. So JR, what do you think about this deal?
Yeah, for some odd reason, even my own personal work, any business, NFL, pro wrestling, I love behind the scenes stuff. I just always got a kick out of it. But it's very important because, number one, you overnight, in the next 4 months, you're going to grow your revenue more than double. I mean, we've heard the numbers after when they added Collision around 70, 75 million. So now beginning January 1st, you're going to be getting upwards more than double that. That's very important because you just signed a bunch of multi-million-dollar contracts this year. So now you're having more revenue, a bigger revenue stream into your company, and be able to either re-sign talent to potentially sign new talent that may be free agents. It's very important because that's what it's all about, about being solvent by being in the black. Number two, I know a lot of people, they talk about house shows, the live attendance is down, but wrestling has changed significantly since COVID. For years, going back to the 80s and 90s, live attendance gate and then also pay-per-views was your biggest revenue streams. I mean, during the Monday Night Wars, Raw was getting, I think, somewhere in the vicinity between like $30 to $40 million. And that is a very high estimate off the top of my head. It could even be less than that when they were breaking, 5, 6, 7, 8 million viewers a week. And so you needed that live attendance gate. It has switched dramatically. So wrestling is not so much a live event show company anymore, whether it's WWE or AEW. It is actually now a television company, and that's what they do, producing 2 hours on Wednesday, 2 hours on Saturday. And so that's very important because it's another way, it's the most important way you're growing your company as far as your revenue stream. The one thing I think it's good for AEW. I think they may have a plan, but not having Battle of the Belts, not having Rampage and part of this deal. I think once we got Collision, Rampage kind of fell a little bit by the wayside. Some weeks they have good matches. Some weeks it kind of was very reminiscent of AEW Dark on YouTube. So I think they can do something with that because there's a lot of talent. I just think whether they put Rampage on a different network, whether it becomes a completely different show for a different network, it's just the amount of effort you put into it. But no matter what, producing that much television hours is a very hard job. It's not easy. That's the reason why not everybody is a booker. We love being Monday morning quarterbacks per se, but it's very difficult to be a promoter and booker and booking that much hours. So it's great for AEW. It gives them more longevity. I know it seems very short, but in the end, when you get to that past that third year, I think it's more likely they can potentially get a bigger deal than it would be for them to get a lesser deal. Tony Khan is very committed to AEW. The Khan family has been very committed to all of their companies or sports teams they've been in. So I don't see this as something where it's like, well, it's 3 years and, as everyone said, AEW wouldn't last. I think after 5 years, it's here for the long term. And this can bring them through year 8 into year 9.
Man. Dude. Finally. That was the first word that I came out. After I did a little fist pump, Tiger Woods fist pump. Yes, it's finally, because again, everybody that listens to the show has heard how wrong I've been speculating when this was going to be announced, when the deal was going to be done. So, I finally, just realized I didn't know. And, and I was like, man, but I was like, the 5-year anniversary of Dynamite seemed like a good place to announce it. And they announced it a few hours before the 5-year anniversary. And, dude, yes, that's my big word. Like, yes, amazing. I am at this situation where, AEW is my preferred brand of wrestling right now, of course. I still watch WWE. I watch New Japan when I had time. Honestly, New Japan has kind of went to the wayside, and it didn't take a lot. It only took like 2 or 3 shows where I was like, and I just didn't have any emotional connection to the show anymore. Hopefully that fixes. But I still subscribe to New Japan World. Still got to support my boy Walker Stewart, my guy Oklahoma. the voice of New Japan, but I have not been watching it as much as I should. But because of that, when I'm looking at this, AEW has been kind of my all-in thing. I go to the events and all that stuff. So to the announcement of 3 to 4 more years, of 4 years, it feels good because it does shut a lot of people up. And by shut a lot of people up, they're still going to talk. But at this point, they have nothing to stand on, so you just really have no reason to listen to them unless you just enjoy being annoyed, which is, hey, if that's your thing, if you like to get on Twitter, you like to scroll down till you see a post you don't like, you like to retweet and go, boom, gotcha. Like, dude, let me tell you, I'll tell you right now, you don't want to smoke with Rich. You won't win. Rich Latta, One Nation Radio, no, don't do it. Don't do it. I mean, this man, his bookmark game is fucking strong. His receipt game is legendary. I mean, this dude was like, got him, just posting, catching people off guard. I had a few personal friends. I was like, so when this is done, they'll be the second most profitable company in the world, ever. Second most profitable wrestling company ever. And I believe I don't remember the exact number, but it's not a lot of episodes till they've run longer than Nitro on the same channel or the same network. Let's put it that way.
Oh, I mean, you have to remember, so AEW just hit 5 years.
Yeah.
Nitro came on the air September of 1995 and then was off air in late March 2001. So by this time next year, they would have officially be older than Monday Night Nitro.
Yes. And then they signed a deal for Collision, right? And Thunder wasn't, around very long. So just with this extension, Collision will run longer than WCW Thunder.
Yeah, I believe Thunder came on in January of 98. It was right after Bret Hart signed with WCW, and then essentially they were off air around the same time of March of 2001. So pretty much 3 years, and then Collision started last, so they're already a year old. So yeah, they'd be at a 4-year mark. So the one thing I forgot, real quickly, I forgot to mention this. The part of the deal was the being a part of. Could you please go back to where you mentioned about on Max? Is it streaming at the same time, simulcast, or is it on demand for later viewing?
It will be simulcast. So you will not need a live TV subscription other than Max to watch Collision and Dynamite.
That's very important because, as you and I talked about a lot, television viewership has changed greatly over the years, where recent studies have shown less than 50% of television, back up. Less than 50% of all entertainment viewership is actually coming from either cable or network television. It's coming through streaming subscriptions, coming through like even video game content, other content that's not traditional television. So this is very important because people don't like paying high cable bills anymore. So if you have a Max subscription, I think I paid $15 for mine. You don't need cable. And the other part is with that, you're not going to be able to get a discounted price. We don't know yet. I'm going to venture to guess it's at least $10, if not $15 off pay-per-view. So for the price of probably around $24.99 to $29.99, you probably can get an AEW pay-per-view, which is great if you have Max because, with them adding more pay-per-views, if you're wanting to see more, it's going to be more affordable.
Yes. And AT&T Internet, which is what I have, if you got it at a certain time, Max is included. So I was doing some research, and new AT&T Internet people do not get Max. But if you've had AT&T Internet, you would. And if you stayed on that plan, which is the plan I'm on, you get Max included. So like literally, I actually want faster internet, but I will never upgrade because to give if I decide to upgrade, not only would I be giving them more money for a faster internet, I then will add a $15 bill every month with Max. So I'm never getting off my plan as long as Max is included. So if you happen to have AT&T, do the cable sign in. It'll give you an option to sign in using your provider, sign in using AT&T, and see if you get it free. You may not, but like I do, I have it included. I've been on this kick about free the last few days. I know I've been on this kick my whole life. Someone said, when this deal was announced, they was like, I wish pay-per-views were free like they are on Peacock. And you know how much you don't understand how much that triggered me. I'm like, you pay for Peacock? And they be like, yes. So the pay-per-views aren't free, correct? You pay for Peacock. It's included, but it's not free. When something is free, it requires nothing from you. Like, I have a TV, right? And I turn on my TV, and then I will get like CW, local CW, ABC, NBC, no antenna, no nothing. It might not come in clear, but it'll come in through my TV. That is free. I have Samsung TV. As long as you have an internet connection, you get all these channels under Samsung TV. That is free. All I needed was the internet, and I can watch their Samsung stuff. That's free. If you have to pay something to get said thing, it is no longer free. I'm not going to go, that was it. I'm done with it. But I hate that idea of it. And understand, when they said that, and when the guy said it, I want to repeat. I was like, WWE got $500 million a year. Yes, they can offer their pay-per-views for free. AEW ain't pulling that deal right now. I mean, they never pull that deal, but they're definitely not pulling that deal right now. So getting the money from pay-per-views or whatever is still a part of their bottom line. So it like I said, I cannot feel any negativity about this. There are hundreds of people that are guaranteed. I'm not saying AEW was going out of business, but not having a TV deal would have made life tougher. But there are hundreds of people that are continuing having a job for at least 3 more years. There are wrestlers that probably wouldn't be featured anywhere else that are featured every week that I get to see and enjoy. One of the quarterbacks of the company is a man named Sir Strickland, and I quite enjoy it. Will Ospreay, I think, is the best in-ring performer in the world, and I get to watch him. The two greatest tag teams of all time, the current tag team champions, the Young Bucks, and my favorite tag team, FTR, are still in this company. There are a lot of people like Daniel Garcia and Ricky Starks that we haven't seen in a while, but they're still here. And all these people are still employed. Owen Hart's legacy through AEW is going to continue with the Owen Hart Turner Cup every year. I was like, there's so many different things that I could say that you have this other company running major events and rating agents. When your people leave from WWE, when either they've decided they've been there long enough or whatever, there is an alternative to go to see them still wrestle. There are places there is a company that works well with other companies, still out there. And it's just like, I want to take this, and I will tell anybody, whatever you do to celebrate this or not celebrate this is your business. I am going to go every moment yelling about how awesome this is for pro wrestling and AEW, not looking at like as is, hey, told you so, because I did tell you so. JR told you so. Austin told you so. Everybody that's ever been on this show told you so. Rich told you so. James told you so. Fucking Jeremy and Josh don't even cover AEW. They told you fucking so. Everybody on Social Suplex told you so. And I could do this. I could do that for hours. We could literally do a Social Suplex podcast where we drink and just talk shit about how much we told everybody so. But it's not about that. Because it's about every Wednesday and Saturday, me and my friends get to sit down and watch wrestling, for the most part, presented in a way we want it presented. a way that we love. And there is thousands and millions of other people that get to. People that might not be able to afford to go to the other show, maybe get to go to the AEW show. You know, maybe they do an area that doesn't get hit a lot or whatever. And it's such a positive thing that wrestling gets to happen. You know what I mean? That wrestling gets to, no matter who you go for, whether you're a WWE guy, hardcore, I only watch WWE, you should still be happy that AEW exists. Reason being, the reason your product is so good right now, why is the product in WWE so good, JR?
Competition. Just like every other time before. Like the Monday Night Wars, even during the period of the golden age of wrestling, it was because of competition between Crockett, AWA, and Vince with WWF.
One too many variety articles touting how AEW was catching WWE. One too many PWI awards going to AEW instead of WWE. WWE and their wrestlers and their writers and their producers and the TKO all saw that, and they said, no, fuck that. And they came with it. And they came with some storylines that the WWE fan base could get behind. Just so you know, they didn't have to try before. They were coasting. They were the only product in town. Now, there is competition out there. So you should be happy AEW exists, and you should never want AEW to go away. Because as long as AEW exists, WWE is going to keep trying. Ethan Page is an NXT champion. You don't think that had anything to do with AEW? Brian Pillman is pretty much featured every week on NXT television. The top guy in WWE, the number one, the QB1, came from AEW. And I know he originally started in the WWE, but they didn't want him. The dude walked out of his contract and they didn't fight him. When's the last time WWE did that, JR?
It's been a long time.
That motherfucker, he left the company and said, I ain't coming back. And they said, cool. They said, cool, fine, whatever. Vince McMahon then flew to his house and said, come back, please. And now he's QB1. I've never thought about the world champion of wrestling as the quarterback, but hey, whatever. They refer it. It's been commonly used now. I'll go with it. But he's the man. AEW guy. Because guess what? I would say WWE guy if his character was built in the WWE. No, they fought him. They told him, hey, you can't have this character. He went out. New Japan gave him the name. And he built on that and built that product and then came with AEW, All In, all that stuff. And he's no longer with AEW. I understand that. But if you try to take away his part in this, that's just stupid. Cody, the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, Tony Khan, Jim Ross, and Chris Jericho. It took all of them. Just because you don't like someone, don't try to lessen their role. It took all of them. FTR has gotten a place to show who they are as a tag team because of what the Young Bucks did. So when people are like, oh, you hate the Young Bucks, you love FTR, that could be the furthest thing from the truth. If you know me, they're 1 and 1A in my book. They are right there with each other. They entertain completely different, but we're not going down there again. But yeah, Kenny Omega, dude, I am one of the few people that have it opposite. And I know there's a lot of people that would never follow Cody or whatever if he hadn't hooked up with the Young Bucks, joined the Bullet Club, all that stuff. My take is exactly the opposite. I wouldn't know who really the Bullet Club was. Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, all of that, if it wasn't for Cody Rhodes. The reason I watched that Wrestle Kingdom was to see Cody versus Ibushi. And then I saw the Young Bucks, and I saw them. And I'd seen the Young Bucks before, like, because I was a TNA fan. I didn't think anything of them. I could not remember a match. You know, I'd see Kenny Omega. I'd watch random New Japans, and I'd seen Kenny Omega as a junior. Never thought of him. But when Cody got there, it made me watch. And I discovered this group. And I discovered the Bullet Club and what would be referred to as the Elite eventually. And now we are where we are. So use this time to give people their flowers. Now, there are people out there. There are disingenuous shit posters, Eric Bischoff, Jonathan Coachman, you know, to name a few, that kind of deserve people to go at them. You know, then they do. They deserve people to go at them because of all the shit that they've talked, all the bad information that they've asked. And, you know, and I talk to people, and it's so funny because you'll talk to them, you know, your casual friends, your people that are more in the WWE, and they'll quote something Eric Bischoff said. They'll quote something Jonathan Coachman posted. And I'd be like, there's no truth to that. Well, they wouldn't have said it if it wasn't true. You don't understand wrestling. So I'm just going to quit talking to you.
I think I'll you know, probably move on after this, but I'll leave with this note. I think it's what you said. It's important to give people their flowers. Creating a company, and if we're being completely honest, it's the most successful. I don't want to use the term competitive, but I'm going to use it for lack of a better word. Competitive wrestling company in the history of this business, because it used to be territorial, as we know, do the research. When Vince took WWF national, nobody could compete with them. And, you know, we know about the Monday Night Wars, but it was 83 weeks and where they won, but that was pretty much over and done with. So this is the company. This is by far the most successful company that have been some sort of competition for WWE. But I would look beyond that. So give people the flowers, but in my opinion, and I say this, I'm telling this to myself too, because I love being a troll and I love being petty and I love, you know, going back and forth. I love a good fight. But really enjoy what we have out there, you know, because everybody's going to try to one up somebody. You're going to have a casual fan. You're going to have a fan of who supports WWE. Well, we get, you know, WWE gets, you know, they get over 1 million viewers a week, or they broke this gate. That, you know, but as one of my boys would say, bump that. Just focus on the fact that we have two companies on national television that produce at times quality products. They produce quality, you know, PLEs for WWE, pay-per-views for AEW. They're different price points. You know, as I told Floyd, and everyone knows me, Floyd watch everything pretty much. I enjoy moments on Mondays and Fridays, and I enjoy moments on Tuesdays and Saturdays. I've enjoyed going to past WWE events. I love going to AEW events with Floyd. There's something there for everybody. And if you just focus on that, you know, like I said, the proclivity positivity, focus on that positive, I promise you, you'll get much more enjoyment. Because Floyd would tell you, when I get with him and we went to Double or Nothing in Vegas, or we went to, you know, Full Gear together, went to All Out together, I just get lost in the moment, and I don't give a rat's ass about anything else. And it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, it ain't your money that's getting put in your pockets from USA Network or TNT. It ain't your money that's coming from merchandise sales. You're putting your money on a product to go see it, whether it's your television at home or an event, you know, and have a good time with it. Don't worry about anybody else. Don't worry about the naysayers and stuff like that. Just focus on that positive, and I promise you, every day will be much better.
So there are more things coming out. It looks like the AEW is shopping the new show. What was this show called? I can't remember it right now. Shockwave. They are shopping that to TV networks, non-cable TV networks. And the biggest announcement, the biggest name that we've heard is Fox, and that it could be like a Thursday night show on Fox. That would be huge because that would be a wrestling company with multiple TV deals. And again, I think they would be the only wrestling company, like other than WWE, to have 2 TV deals with 2 major networks, both in America. One is a cable network and one is network TV. And again, if it happens on Fox, that's a lot of homes and that's a lot of people that have probably never experienced AEW that will have a major channel. They will have the ability to watch it. I'm not saying it's going to be 10 million people watching AEW Shockwave if it gets on Fox, but I'm saying millions of more people will have the opportunity to see AEW that didn't. So I think that show, like, you know, if you're doing A show, B show, C show, right? If you do Shockwave on Thursday, so let's just say it's an hour show on Thursdays on Fox, right? Fox Prime Time. That probably becomes your second most important show, right?
Oh no, it becomes, and I don't think I'm the only one that has this. I think even Meltzer said this. That becomes your number one show because Fox is going to expect this show minimum at the level of Dynamite, if not bigger than Dynamite, because of it being on a network television. So I think that's very important. It's very important to distinguish what network is it on, because if it's on Fox Sports 1, it's probably a C show because Fox Sports 1 is available less homes than TNT and TBS. If it's on Big Fox, it becomes a very important television show for AEW and Fox. It doesn't matter if it's a 30-minute show. It becomes very important because that is premium time that you're getting on television.
Yep. And that's what I was saying. It's just like, I feel like it would at least be.
Can I give a comparison real quick?
Yes.
The comparison I'll give you, years ago, this is, I'm trying to remember if it was from like 2011, maybe through 2018. When UFC was on Fox, they would have shows on Fox Sports 1. And pretty much Fox Sports 1 was kind of created with UFC in mind. But when they had but they always had quarterly shows on Fox. I would say about every single one of those Fox shows was built to be bigger, not at the same level of pay-per-views, but in some cases they were. They had championship fights. They had lightweight title fights. The very first one was a heavyweight title fight between Cain Velasquez and Gio Dos Santos on Big Fox. That's how it was treated as bigger than any other, UFC fight night. It was treated somewhere in the middle between, a UFC fight night and a pay-per-view because of the fact that it was considered that premium time. Right now, Floyd, you and I talked about earlier off air about it's a different network, but CBS, about how one of the networks wanted the Baltimore Ravens and Washington Commanders on, I believe it was Sunday Night Football on NBC because they had I think it was the Giants and Bengals, and CBS was like, nuh-uh, we're paying for a product, we expect a premium product. So you're not going to take one of the premium matchups right now on paper to give us a dud. So that's where it goes. Like when you're on, whether it's ABC, whether it's Fox, CBS, or NBC, the top 4 networks, there is an expectation that you're bringing, and it doesn't matter what it is, sports or any TV show, that you're bringing it to every single time.
Yeah. And, and that's what I would like. And sometimes what I was going to say it's a super important show because there are going to be some people experiencing AEW for the first time. So you want to get the new faces, the people that you're building. You're going to get hot feuds on that Thursday show. So, because, again, like Rampage, I will use this as an example. I watch Rampage every week. But the majority of people I know see Rampage as skippable. They ask me what happened on Rampage. Was it worth watching? And generally I'll be like, okay, this is what happened or whatever. And I always say, you know what? I think every wrestling program is worth watching. But it's not true, because you have a finite amount of time in life, right? You have a finite amount of time. If you're going to get 4 matches on Rampage where you know all the results, and that's another hour you can sleep, or that's another hour you can be with your wife or your kids, or that's another hour you can game, yeah, give me a reason not to do any of that stuff. And the point is, most of the time it doesn't. So I'm just saying, Shockwave is going to have to knock it out of the park every week to maintain that audience. Again, there is this family of people. People always ask me, why did I love Arn Anderson so much? And I never put this together until like a few weeks ago, a month. Me and you might have been on the phone. There was these years that I did not have cable, right? All I got was Superstars on Saturday, and there was a WCW, I forgot what it was called. It was a syndicated show on Sunday, right? And that was all the wrestling I got. Guess who was on that show every week? Arn Anderson. He was in the TV title picture every week. He squash matched somebody or whatever. There are people out there that are diehard fans of Barry Horowitz, diehard fans of Iron Mike Sharp, that have some of their fondest memories is watching the Hardy Boys job for years on WWF Superstars because they didn't have cable. So that was the only WWE. They got the WWF, they got some recaps, and then they got some matches. So some people, this is going to be their AEW experience. They're going to see it on network cable, and if it's good, they're going to go on YouTube, watch clips, all that kind of stuff. But, some people just don't have money, to put all that money into wrestling. So it is going to be a very important show. And, of course, there's going to be more money associated with it. So you would think. So that make AEW even more profitable, And then, of course, there's international TV deals and stuff. But the biggest piece to me is the pay-per-view piece. Because get HBO Max. If, let's say you have YouTube TV, or you have Hulu Live or whatever, and that's how you usually watch it. Plus, you have HBO Max. I'm not saying go get HBO Max. You already are subscribing to HBO Max. As an AEW fan, and if you want to do what's best for AEW, if you care about the business side, and you want their deal you want them to get picked up for the 4th year and make a new deal, watch it on HBO Max. Because HBO Max is super important to the product of Warner Brothers Discovery. So if they can see that AEW is driving more traffic to HBO Max, that can only help AEW. When you buy the pay-per-view, if you have HBO Max, buy it through HBO Max. Do everything you can as a fan to show them how much it is in their best interest to keep AEW on WBD. That's what you can do as a fan if you care. If you don't care, I'm not talking to you. These are for the people that want WBD and AEW to last for 20 years in the future. Make that option. Sign into HBO Max. Buy your pay-per-views through HBO Max. Do everything with AEW through HBO Max. So that, they can see the value, because that's all it comes down to. It comes down to numbers. Just today, this is completely outside of wrestling world, a show I watched, that 90s show, right? With the kids of the people from that 70s show. I watched the first 2 seasons as soon as they dropped, right? Thought people were talking about it. It just got canceled by Netflix today. It's numbers. Are you drawing traffic to that website, to that app, to it? So if you want to help AEW, if that is something you care about, I will restate, do everything through HBO Max. That's what I will be doing. I have YouTube TV. I will be watching the simulcast on HBO Max, not through YouTube TV. I will be buying the pay-per-views through HBO Max, not through YouTube TV, because I am trying to show the tracking that there is value in having AEW on there. So, there you go. What do you think about my thoughts on that, JR?
I mean, you're 100%. I mean, correct. I mean, it's all about numbers. It's all about traffic, and that's the thing is that when you move forward, and you and I found out that the expectations for AEW was for WBD was lower than I think all of us probably thought. So far they consider success, but it may not show up in the ratings because viewership is changing. I talk about this a lot off air, but it's important to show up. There's times, Floyd, you know this. I get out because I watch it. I watch it based on East Coast time, even though I live in the West Coast. For me, Dynamite comes at 5:00. I'm exhausted. Sometimes things will come up that I'm excited on. I still turn it on because I want AEW to succeed. So I still watch through the TBS app and TNT app on Saturdays. And because it's important, because of what it means for wrestling. And that's not trying, and I say this, it's not being a homer, it's not being like, like I'm a standard like that. I want to see men and women of both companies succeed. That's what I'm here for. I want to see compelling stories. I want to see great matches from this talent. And both companies have amazing talent, and I want to see AEW succeed. And the only way it's going to be done is through viewership. And it also on top of that, if you want your talent to succeed, you better make sure that they're one of the highest rated segments if you want to put in certain positions, because the only thing at the end of the day matters is numbers, whether it's merch sales, whether it's the ratings, whether it's pay-per-view buys. That's what matters most, because if it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. And I leave it at that.
All right, so we're going to actually cover what we're going to cover. We're going to cover the TV show now, but that was the TV deal. I knew this segment was going to be long because, literally I've been speculating about it for 2 years. I hope we don't have to wait this long for it the next time. I hope TBS and AEW are like lock sync. This is going to be the number. Boom, let's get it on paper. And it's not even an important announcement. It's just like, oh yeah, we're continuing. I mean, I hope that's the case, but you know what? Negotiations, I am not on the business side of wrestling, so I don't understand all that shit. All right, so we get a report earlier in the day that ring announcer Taz was attacked in the parking lot of AEW Dynamite at the Peterson's Event Center in Pittsburgh. He was taken to a local hospital, and Taz is going to have full knee replacement. And so he is going to be out for a while. Because of that, it was Excalibur, Nigel McGuinness, and Tony Schiavone were the broadcast team for tonight's event. It's Wednesday night, you know what that means. There was a little opening video package. Oh, yeah, let me say this. I was in Pittsburgh. I went to Peterson Event Center. This was my first time in Pittsburgh, first time in Pittsburgh for a Dynamite. This was actually pretty cool. I posted this online, and this was more of people are going to take what I post whatever way you want to take it. But the reason I posted this was this. This is a celebration of what AEW has done for me. I, as a person, that I went quite a few places for wrestling, but generally I only went to cities that WWE aimed for WrestleMania or stayed close to home. I didn't start traveling, and I use that, I throw that double in there, traveling for AEW until for wrestling, until really All In, the Elite, and all that stuff. That became when I just see a event and say, oh, it's in Chicago, I'm going. The first time I ever went to Chicago, Illinois, was to see the Elite at Pro Wrestling Tees. So, in this 5 years, I have seen, and I posted a picture for me at the first AEW Dynamite, 23 Dynamites. It was my 23rd Dynamite. I had seen Dynamite in 16 different cities, 17 different states, and 2 different countries. And I went through again, and of those 16 different cities, 12 were cities I had never been to. Like Tulsa, Oklahoma City, Kansas City. Yeah, it was like I've been to so many different places I've never thought I'd be in. What was the place? Duluth, Georgia. I was in Duluth, Georgia. What the fuck would I ever have to do in Duluth, Georgia? I was there for an AEW event. So, this place, I've talked about it before, and I'm not going to go through it again because I'm kind of sentimental. But if AEW doesn't exist, the Elite doesn't exist, all that stuff, I don't know JR. I don't know Austin. I don't know Sydney. I don't know most of the people that I value in my life most of the people that I've gained over the last 5 years, I don't know if it's not for AEW. In the Elite, that whole AEW Elite universe. I wouldn't know. So AEW is very important to me. When I say this stuff, I'm never bragging about what I've done. I'm never, because I know most people, if they had the money, they would either do something similar or something else. I've just been fortunate in life to be in the position that I am right now. So I am no better or no worse of a fan than anyone else. I mean, money and going to events doesn't measure passion. So I think you can never leave your house and watch AEW and just be just as passionate as a fan. So I am very happy to be able to say we've covered the first Dynamite on All Things Elite, and I was live in attendance. And now we're going to cover the 5th year of Dynamite, and I was live in attendance. That is a celebration of AEW, the company, not really a celebration of me. So here we go. Yeah, we start off with the Blackpool Combat Club. They issue stern warnings for both Willa Yuta and Bryan Danielson. I almost said Daniel Bryanson. Bryan Danielson. Moxley said he'd be relieving Danielson of his duties at Wrestle Dream. Now, I don't usually talk about segments like that, whatever. But god dang, my wrestling crush right now is Jon Moxley. Dude, he is him, Marina, and this just new look presentation of the Blackpool Combat Club. I have a wrestling crush on. I'm like, hey, can you throw FTR back there too? Because it's just such a fresh, no frills, nothing. Everything they say just sounds like, dude, I'm going to fuck you up. Marina Shafir speaking Russian. Oh, my God. Oh, we are not a thirsty podcast, so I'm going to just say that's awesome. Her speaking Russian. I don't need to know what she said. It sounded like she said she was going to kill you, stab you, and feed you to your family. That's what it sounded like to me. I don't know what she actually said. I'm not going to look it up because my imagination is probably better than what she actually said. But her presentation. They have elevated Marina Shafir. Kill everybody. Dude, Pac, the bastard. Has he ever looked like more of a badass than he does right now? And Claudio just with that white t-shirt on, dude. Claudio, come on. I mean, making Claudio look like a badass is not hard. That dude is fucking huge. But, this whole thing is like, wow. You know what I mean? It is awesome. It is awesome. And it's like, no notes. You'd be like, oh, I want to add this guy to the group. Why? When they took that picture of the 4 of them in black and white just standing there, I was like, dude, I don't need an alarm on my house. I'm just going to put that picture on my door. And people are going to walk away. What did you think about that opening segment? Did you see it? I know you were in and out because if some people know this, when JR walks in, it's only 5 o'clock there. So he has to still be an adult. His dog has to use the bathroom. He has to make dinner, blah, 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 all while still trying to catch the beginning of Dynamite. So I don't know how much of it you saw. What did you see, sir?
Yeah, I got a chance to see it. The one thing I mentioned, I don't dislike Jon Moxley. He just never was my cup of tea. But with this new demeanor he has with Claudio, with Pac, with Marina, it's the most I've ever cared about him and when like where I want to see what he's doing next. What's the next step in this story that they're telling with this gentleman and gentlewoman? And you know, the good with AEW. There's something for everybody, and the Blackpool Combat Club for a while. Sometimes they did a little, you know, it was a little kind of corny stuff, a little, you know, tongue in cheek, little song and dance. Nothing crazy, not like Orange Cassidy, but it was like, hey, you know, happy go lucky type stuff. But you know, if you look in the kind of history of wrestling, especially when it comes to heels, or just people like that fans get behind, fans love a mean streak. Like if you have this, you have to have a certain swagger about you, and you have that mean streak. And I'm thinking guys like, you know, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Big Daddy Cool Diesel, fans really get behind that. And when you kind of turn it where it's like, then they start kind of do, you know, tongue in cheek, song and dance type stuff. It's just, it doesn't hit the same. And so I think with what they're doing, and we don't know what the end game of this story is. I just think the fans, I see them how they are now excited. You know, fans always love Moxley, and fans have so much respect for the ring work of Claudio and Pac. But where I see how much more excited are for all of them, and then you add in Marina Shafir and how people are getting behind her with this faction, it's very intriguing. And I think it's the suspense. What's the end game? Like what? And you know, depending on how they do it. I know last year the big fall storyline was the devil, and this storyline is the big fall storyline for AEW. But like, depending on how they tell this could have a lot of legs. Like this could have a lot of depth before you get to like the rising climax. Like it's like that tip of the iceberg. You know, they could tell this story for a while. Like, you know, I think people are expecting something to happen at Wrestle Dream. Similar to last year when, you know, with the stuff with the devil, they're expecting something at Full Gear and it didn't happen. But it's like, no, like, I'm like, I don't think anything needs to happen at Wrestle Dream. I don't think anything needs to happen at Full Gear. I think we have a lot of time to let this thing play out.
And I agree with that. And I was literally about to make that point. There's going to be more from this earlier, but I'm just going to say this. The one thing I hate when wrestling fans just do is decide, if this happens, I'm done, I'm out. If this happens, how about chilling, watching it, react to what's happening at that moment, and then waiting to see what happens next before deciding if you're in and out on it. Well, if this doesn't feature my guy, I'm done. Or if this is Shane McMahon, I'm done. And it's just like, dude, I get it. Passion is a part of wrestling, but kind of let it happen. Then shit on it. If you want to shit on it. Or if you don't want to shit on it, how about not? But I'm saying, at least wait to shit on it. Like, at least wait. Let it play out before you shit on it.
Can I give this is going to be a horrible comparison. But it's, I'm going to say about like, the suspense of what could happen. I remember in TNA when they did the Aces and Eights storyline. And for me, for a long time, I thought that was one of the best things TNA did. Because it was like, people were waiting for like the unmasking of the Aces and Eights. And it was like, it's just keeping that suspense. And then they teased it when Devon was the first one to mask. But then it took weeks for the next one. Like, that was a very long storyline. I mean, I feel like that started like I think it was like August of 2012. And I don't even think you got to like basically when you knew everything happened until March of 2013. So I mean, like, they could go a lot of ways, and it's like, and that's the suspense. What's gonna happen next? Will Moxley beat Danielson? Will Danielson beat Moxley? Are they gonna add another member? Will they add more members? Like, is there gonna be a leader? Like, there's so much. And the thing is that you and I talk about this a lot. As great as matches are, stories are important because stories is what drives people in. As we always talk about, wrestling is a soap opera. People forget that. It's not just matches. You have to have stories. They want both. And by having that and you getting them hooked in, that's the hook to get them back the next week. That's what brings them back. That's what happened with the NWO and WCW. What's happening next week? Like, are the outsiders going to hit? Who's the fourth man? Who's the fifth man? Like, you keeping that up, and then it's just building on that progression.
Absolutely. And I think this could be, the big storyline that maybe brings AEW back. I don't know. I don't know who it's going to be. I'm excited to see. All right. The opening match for the AEW International Championship. The reason I was excited about this show, we had Will Ospreay versus Ricochet. Now, right before the match, we had Don Callis backstage with Kyle Fletcher and Konosuke Takeshita. As Ospreay was getting ready to walk out for his match, Callis said they needed to talk. Ospreay said it wasn't a good time, and then Callis said that him and Fletcher had a flight to catch. And as Ospreay was looking around, he got this death stare from Konosuke Takeshita. Okay, that's called foreshadowing, people. It's called foreshadowing. So this match, they start off wrestling. In the initial, it was like headlock, float over. It was like wrestling. And it was different than their initial match from 2016. It was it was more physical. Then they went into their flying segment where they missing and flipping and trying to go for the Oz cutter and not being able to take each other down. And then they did it. They did it. The spot that I thought absolutely had to happen during this match. And of course, me idiotic, did not have my phone out to take a picture. They hit the dual superhero pose, and I marked out for it. And a whole crowd, this is awesome. This is before the match even started, but when that hit, everybody knew what they were going for, and that was so fucking cool. I was like, yeah, I'm here for Ricochet and Will Ospreay. They then go on to put on a very, very entertaining match. Very, very entertaining match. It was kind of established in the first quarter to half of it that Will Ospreay was better than Ricochet. Ricochet wasn't on his level. And then Ricochet came back. He had to do some sneaky shit. He had to go a little bit out of Ricochet's comfort zone, and he got back in the match. And the match was kind of even. And, Ricochet went for his finisher, hit an Oz cutter at one point, and then Will Ospreay hit an Oz cutter on the apron, I believe. Ricochet hit one of the nastiest looking pile drivers I've ever seen. Do you remember that spot?
Yes.
Oh, dude. It was so perfect because Will Ospreay actually held his head down between his legs at first. And then, as he was landing, he popped his head up. And it was so beautifully done. The reason I break it down like that, because I'm trying not to get too much in the kayfabe side of it when I'm talking about the match, it looked like he was about to break Will Ospreay's neck. That's how well executed the move was. Did you have any thoughts, sir? I think you were saying something. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I was just saying, the one thing I'll say about the match, exactly what we wanted.
Until the ending.
But, when they're dude, I don't know how much it costs to sign Ricochet, but, this is exactly what you brought him in for. This is exactly what people wanted to see.
Yeah, and I hadn't been impressed on the first few matches of Ricochet. I was like, oh, okay, here's Ricochet. This is the guy they brought over. And he having this great match. So towards the end of the match, they do the reverse Rana, hidden blade. I think Ricochet hits a hidden blade. And then Will Ospreay lands on top of Ricochet, but the way he lands on top of Ricochet with his back, he lands with his back, with his shoulders down, and then the referee counts both shoulders down, 1, 2, 3. Now, I have a pet peeve on this, right? Right? JR, if you're standing on the far side of the ring, right, and I'm laying flat down on the ring with my shoulders on the ground, is that a 1, 2, 3?
I would say no.
It's not a pin. You're not on top of me, right? You are not holding me down for the 1, 2, 3, so it's not a 1, 2, 3, correct? My shoulders just happen to be on the ground, right?
Correct.
This is why I don't understand the ending of this match. Okay. Will Ospreay is laying on top of Ricochet, and his shoulders on the mat. But Ricochet's not pinning Will Ospreay. So how would it be a double 3? Ricochet's arm's not on Will Ospreay. His arm's not on his leg. Nothing about Ricochet is holding Will Ospreay down. So how's it counting Will Ospreay down for 3?
No, I mean, it's like typically when this happens, there has to be some sort of body part on top of the other opponent.
Exactly.
Like when they do sometimes they do like the belly to back suplex. Like where it's a double pin. It's like, well, yeah, because the guy who did the belly back suplex, his arms are holding on to the guy, so technically a part of his body's on him. When they do, I've seen it before, or a side suplex, it's like their arms are on top of each other. So if there's no part of Ricochet on top, not even a finger on top of Ospreay, it's kind of a kayfabe problem.
Yeah, it's Will Ospreay won the match. Because Will Ospreay was never pinned. His shoulders just happened to be on the mat. That means if any point in the match you're laying down on the mat with your shoulders down for 3 seconds, you lose. And that is not wrestling, correct? Like, suspension of disbelief is my shit. I'm all about suspending disbelief. But that was just wrong. I mean, did you see what I saw?
No, absolutely. Like, I'm not just. The reason I'm kind of being excited is I feel like you spoke for both of us. You're 100% right.
It was like, yeah, suspension of disbelief is my shit. Hey, I'm all about all the things that go along with wrestling. It's wrestling. Just go with it. But Ricochet did not pin Will Ospreay. Will Ospreay just beat Ricochet. Well, they do that, and then they's like, oh, okay, it's a tie. Oh, we're going to start the match over. And they 5 more minutes. We get the message back from Tony Khan. We got 5 more minutes. Well, I guess it was till a winner. It wasn't 5 more minutes. But the match was going to happen until there was a winner. Quickly, the match starts there. I think Will Ospreay had the advantage. Here comes, he comes through my section, so I see it happening before. Here becomes this giant Asian man named Konosuke Takeshita, and he attacks both of them, and the match is thrown out. Both men traded elbows, slugging it out in the center ring. Ospreay caught Ricochet with the hidden blade. Konosuke Takeshita jumped in the ring, grounded and pounded Ospreay. Takeshita wiped out Ospreay with a power drive knee strike, and then he hit Ricochet with the Raging Fire, which is the coolest looking Falcon Arrow ever. Takeshita grabbed the International Championship belt and held it high, calling his shot. Later on in the night, we would get a message from Tony Khan that at Wrestle Dream, it will be Will Ospreay, Ricochet, and Takeshita in a triple threat match for the international title. Sir, what did you think about the ending of this match?
I'll say this. There's a part of me that feels like I feel like they did it to protect Ricochet. I don't think that they want Ricochet right now to be the one to lose to Ospreay. Obviously, he's been in the company for slightly over 1 month, and I think they want to do something with him, and I don't know what that is though. I don't see the international title being the thing for Ricochet, but I do see why they did what they did with Takeshita, because you and I think you saying it longer, I've said it at least for a year since he beat Kenny Omega. Like, you need to do something with Takeshita. Like, you have to pull the trigger, because how did this guy beat one of the biggest stars in AEW, a former World Heavyweight Champion, and you've done nothing with him of significant value? So it's like, when it happened, I was like, yes, thank you. Like, this is the moment I've been waiting for, because for me, and I'll just say this, we're not doing predictions, but I want this man to walk out to Tacoma, Washington as the new AEW International Champion.
Yes. I mean, yeah, I'm all about push Takeshita. He'd be the AEW World Champion if it was up to me. He'd have been just in a feud with Swerve, and they'd just be trading the title back and forth if it was up to me. But, I am Like, dude, let me tell you, to get this vacation day off. So, it was the week of that weekend of it. I didn't remember it until like yesterday afternoon. I started looking up flights to Seattle. I was like, I'm with my boy Chris, and we like, yeah, let's try to make this happen. And I was like, oh, I got to talk to my boss, because I remembered that I talked to my boss about something, but I couldn't remember what it was. Yeah, that weekend, like, everybody's off but me. The only reason everybody could take off is because I told them I would work. So it's literally the only weekend I can't take off. Son of a bitch. God damn it. No, I was like, you can't go to everything. It's unrealistic. So it would have been cool to go to, though, because that right there was a dream match that I never even dreamed of. They was like, they announced it. I was like, that's a dream match. The problem is, I never thought of it. I never thought of, oh, man, I can't wait to see Will Ospreay versus Ricochet versus Takeshita. No, never thought of it. But it's still a dream match, because as soon as they said it, I was dreaming about being there. So, yeah, let's fucking go. They're going to fucking kill it. I'm like, I think 6 stars minimum. It might be the greatest three-way match in the history of three-way matches. Yeah, I'm setting the bar that high. Look who they are. Look who they are. And tell me you think the bar is set too high. All right, TBS champion, the CEO, Mercedes Moné was backstage with Camille. Please say hello to your CEO. I've had the truck put together a small package of my best moments in Dynamite history. And then, of course, the package plate, and they were literally all just her. Wasn't that amazing? AEW's best moments is all about me. AEW's future is so bright because Monet changes everything. MVP walked into the scene, and he's on his Nick Saban shit because he out here ready to recruit. And he said, yes, it does, and I absolutely love big business, so please take my card. Perhaps we should talk. So the Hurt Syndicate, the card goes to Mercedes Moné, MVP. Man, I got to tell you about MVP. I feel like, I don't know if MVP's polarizing. I don't know what everybody thinks is. I love him as an on-screen character. And when I say that, I don't care if he's not wrestling. I just love his presence. He walks in there with the suit and the cane, and everything he says, because of his voice, his delivery, sounds like it matters. And I just think that it's important to say that. I remember when somebody said he was the Black Paul Heyman. I was like, do you know what kind of compliment that is? Do you know how important Paul Heyman has been to the last few years of WWE programming? That's a huge statement. So I think MVP can be that important. And I think, it's one of those things. The Hurt Syndicate is coming, and I hope they use them to have some other younger people under MVP, because I think he could really be a valuable person in the company if you treat him with the respect that he's due. We got Renee tried to interview Austin and Colton Gunn. Hangman beat them both up with the chair and, caught him when he wasn't looking. It's hilarious how huge Colton Gunn is. Like, Hangman goes and swings on Austin. It's cool. Austin is not a small human, okay? We've been around Austin Gunn. That man is not a small human. But then Hangman goes after Colton. It's like, and Colton's like, what? Seems like 6 inches taller than the dude. I know it might only be 2 or 3, but I'm saying it feels like he's just a fucking giant. And he's like, he's added the definition. He's filled out. It's like, oh my God. I was like, I didn't realize how big Colton was. You know what I mean? And then, they attacked him. Up next, everybody's favorite segment. TV time with a learning tree Chris Jericho, the Red Will Big Bill, and the Bad Apple Brian Keith. Now, JR, I would like you to relay. I know we're proclivity of positivity. If something's not good, we'll say it. I would like you to relay your thoughts on what it was like watching this from home.
Listen, I don't think it's a secret. I'm not a fan of Jericho. And I say this, and this is my honest opinion. I feel he is AEW's version of a past his prime Hulk Hogan. Like, it's just, dude, you are just taking up TV time and like living off your glory days from yesteryear. This segment was like, I mean, it felt like a root canal. It just went on and was painful. And I'm like, it got to a point where like, it felt like this segment was like 30 to 40 minutes of the first hour of AEW Dynamite. I honestly do not know how long it was because it felt like it took forever for it to like happen, develop, and end. And when it did, I thank God it was over and I did not have to see Jericho again. And I mean, it just, for me, everybody he works with, I don't feel at this, I mean, in the first year, yes, it worked. At this point, I feel it does nothing for them. It does not bring him up to a different level. I don't enjoy his matches. I don't enjoy his mic work. If he's being terrible on purpose, it's not, I know you and I talked about it, like, it's, you know, it's heat, but it's not heat for me. It's me wanting to, like, I want to change the channel and put something else on.
It was funny because you used the word TV time. I'm like, yeah, exactly how you feel is how everybody's supposed to feel. But I can even say this, as much as I love Mark Briscoe and his promos, this whole thing drug on way too long. I'm literally playing Monopoly Go on my phone in the crowd because it's just like, okay, we get it. It's going to be Jericho and Briscoe. And I'm not one of those people just come out there and say it's going to be Jericho and Briscoe. But I feel like you could have got to the Jericho and Briscoe in about half the time that was actually used. And this is where I feel like there was a mistake made in the booking of this program. Right here, after that long, horrible segment where all people want is wrestling, this is where you do Britt versus Serena Deeb, with Britt doing the big entrance. This right here. And now we will talk about what actually happened, and you'll understand my problem with it. Darby Allin was in a junkyard, and he says it's going to be a Wrestle Dream, and he put out an open challenge. I love how the fact that he took responsibility and basically said it was a stupid move, and he got lost in trying to prove something to Jon Moxley. He shouldn't have put up his title, and but a bully tried to pick on him, so he was never going to back down from a bully. He told the story about getting spit on the head. I actually thought it was a really good story. I'm not going to tell it as well as he did, so go watch the play of a Dynamite and watch Darby's segment, because Austin may have been able to recap it well, but I was just kind of deciding how I was going to recap it, and it sounded like shit in my head, so I was like, nope, not doing it. Just know it was a really good promo where he basically said he shouldn't have put up his top spot, but now he has to keep going. Open challenge at Wrestle Dream, Darby Allin. All right, then we have Hangman Page versus the Bang Bang Gang's Juice Robinson. And this was a fucking fight. Like, fight. Whipping each other with the belt. I'm like, the match started before the match started. Juice whipped. They were fighting out in the crowd and in my section before the match started, like right in front of me. It was so cool. My wife said she saw me on TV. I thought that was pretty cool. I actually haven't went back to watch it, but yes, this was wild. It went everywhere. They finally got back in the ring. Juice superplex Hangman, both men feeling the aftermath of a rough landing. I'm not going to read all of this because this was a lot of match, but Juice managed to powerbomb Page and cover him, but Page kicked out at 2. Hangman Page grabbed the referee and hit Juice with a low blow. Out of sight of Aubrey Edwards, Hangman blasted Juice with the buckshot lariat and then stole the pin. Tough break for Juice Robinson, said Tony Schiavone. And my friend Dave said this was going to be a glorified squash match. Dude, was this a glorified squash match, sir?
No, I mean, to me, it felt competitive, and it felt rugged on both sides because, dude, both of them are madmen at this point.
Yeah, and it felt like every moment Juice could have won, and then Hangman had to go through the dirty below nut shot to take out Juice and get the pin. And, Hangman wasn't done. He started choking Juice with the belt, just really taking it to Juice. And the music hit. And it's Switchblade's music. Everybody's looking at the crowd. Everybody's looking at the entrance. They want to see what tube he's coming down. They say, heel, is he a face? I only say this because that's what the crowd in my section was saying. No, he comes through the crowd. He comes through the crowd behind Hangman and attacks him and beats him and beats him and beats him. And then he took him over. He took him over to the guardrail area and put Spirit Hangman through the table that Page that propped up against the guardrail earlier. Again, right in front of me, there is a 41-second video on there's a 41-second video on the All Things Elite Twitter page, caught by Mr. Zach Rice, the guy that I went to the show with. Zach is a native of Pittsburgh. He covers Duquesne basketball all the time, so he's in the media also. Did an excellent job. Me and him met at, speaking of the first year of AEW, we met pretty much a little bit after the first Dynamite. We met at Full Gear in Baltimore. We met at the Starcast. We met the Starcast before, and we have been good friends communicating ever since. We had some Primanti brothers. Zach, salt of the earth, amazing guy. He called a few things in the show. I told him I was going to remember what they were, and I don't remember what they were, but he called a few things. So, Zach, there's your shout out. But thank you. No, but we had a really good time. He showed me around Pittsburgh a little bit, got to hang out with him. Again, we hadn't seen each other since that Full Gear in Baltimore. But yeah, we got Jay White coming back. He looks like he's not necessarily a baby face because he cut a promo later. But, he got a baby face reaction. So what did you think about... Did you breathe with the Switchblade, JR? Did you breathe with the Switchblade? Did you breathe with the Switchblade?
I apologize. My mic was muted. When we talk, just for those don't know, I tend to drink a lot of liquids in general. So when we talk and I get parched, I tend to drink a lot. So my mic's always muted. But I love me some Jay White. I've had a chance to meet him a couple of times. I think he's a cool dude. I think he has a lot of swagger and charisma about him. I think his time in AEW, anytime you give him the mic, I don't think he needs to yell to get his point across. I think he's very good with words. And I think this is a great matchup with him and Hangman. So I look forward to it because I enjoy Hangman's work as well. And the one thing I just didn't, it was kind of like, saving Juice just a little tiny bit, kind of was like, I'm kind of rubbed me a little bit the wrong way because I feel like it kind of, made Juice look a little tiny small. But it was very important though because it was a part of the story to get to Jay versus Hangman. So, but I mean, and as soon as I heard the music, I did the throat slash, and yeah, I'm excited for it and for this, and I don't know when it will happen. Did we get a time? Was it Wrestle Dream or or are we seeing it further down the line?
They have not announced it yet, but I mean, come on, the way this is going, it's going to happen at Wrestle Dream. I'm surprised it hasn't been announced yet. Renee Paquette awaited TNT champion scapegoat Jack Perry in his truck, in his bang bus. Perry pulled up in his bus. Shibata got into Perry's face. He used his translator to say, "You and me, TNT championship at Wrestle Dream." Perry's like, "I'll think about it," walked away, and then blindsided Shibata with the cheap shot. Perry, I accept. I got to say this about this whole situation, about it. Actually, the later segment that I'm going to talk about will probably be the best way to say it, so I'm going to save it. Then we got Britt Baker coming in the intro, big ass, the original Terrible Towel, straight up yellow and black, came in the back of the Peterson to this amazing entrance and amazing reaction. DMD, 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 DMD. She's our doctor. They were doing all the chants. Then Serena Deeb came out. Then the match started. So we just talked about what we just saw with Hangman and Juice, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, all right. So I'm just playing this out there. This is very much Monday morning quarterbacking. But you had that amazing match with Ricochet. You had all those segments. Then you had the extremely long TV time. Fans are just like, God, I need some wrestling, right? And you put on Hangman and Juice Robinson, straight another banger, straight another amazing match. Then, and that's like hardcore. So you had two matches that basically you had Will Ospreay and Ricochet doing the acrobatic stuff. Then you had this hardcore match with basically Juice Robinson and Hangman, right? It was basically a hardcore match, you know? So you had these two exciting matches, right? Then you're going to put Britt Baker and Serena Deeb in a match, and you know it's just going to be a wrestling match. I feel like when it comes to any type of wrestling, but especially women's wrestling, because of the long history with the other company of it being the bathroom break match, right? You need to help them by where you position them on the card. I've brought this up to you before, right?
Yes.
Would it have hurt anything if Britt Baker and Serena Deeb was in the Hangman section and then you put Hangman and Juice in this section?
Absolutely not. I mean, honestly, for me, there's a part of me that I may have kicked off with Britt Baker just for the single fact is it's in Pittsburgh, it's her hometown, the pop, I think, but at the same time, even if you go with Ospreay Ricochet, the next thing I would have done was you would have had Mercedes promo, and then I would have done the match, Deeb and Britt, and then I would have done the promo with Jericho and cut 20 minutes out of it, and then went into Hangman and Juice. Because this is the one thing, and I talked to you a lot about this when it comes to pay-per-views. You do need time to breathe for people to digest stuff, because when you get them constantly like going, there's gonna come a period where they're gonna crash, and you don't want them to crash during a match, in my opinion, which is why I like breaks. But especially during a television show where you have moments where you're gonna have promos and storylines, there's a way to book it where they don't crash during a pay-per-view, or they're like, hey, I need to go to the bathroom, because it just, it looked, even at home, the audience was kind of like
completely checked out during this match.
Thank you.
I watched it, and I actually thought it was a fairly good match, but the crowd wasn't into it. After Britt Baker's reaction, and then they had a match, and Serena Deeb, as talented as she is, as much as I love Serena Deeb, her style is not the most fan-friendly wrestling style. Is that fair to say?
I would say it's not for an AEW crowd.
Correct. So she just wrestles. All right, so
I mean, she's basically, I think it goes without saying, she's basically the female Dean Malenko.
Yeah. I think even Meltzer gave it 3.25 stars a match, because he watches it more of a quality match, and he gave it 3.25 stars. But I'm like, if you base it on fan reaction, you barely knew match was going on. A match happened. Britt grabbed Deeb in the lockjaw and forced Deeb to tap out. I gotta say this, for me, and no one else may have a problem with it. I tend to have problems with things don't. I just wish Britt just wore the glove the whole match. I just feel putting on the glove is clunky. It just slows down the match while she's putting on the glove. And it's just like, to me, it's like you're trying to have the championship match, or I think you're going to be the winner and this stuff, and you're going to stop to put on a glove. Why not just have the glove on the whole match? What do you think, sir?
It's part of showmanship. I mean, same reason why Mick Foley did it with Sacco.
No, but when Mick Foley did this thing where he pulled it out of his pants, hung it up there, and then, oh yeah, watch me put it on, and it was this whole crowd participation thing. I don't think Britt does that. Do you?
I mean, I would say I feel like for time the crowd, like, I do think there's a reaction to it.
Okay.
I will say this. I do think there is probably a better way to do it because I do feel like she's trying to remember. It's been a long week. Didn't she try to do it as she puts them in the move?
Sometimes, and it's just like, dude,
That's
it's like
the part where it's like, that's the clunkiness of it.
It
like,
feels clunky. Like if she knocked the person down, went over to the corner, whipped out the glove, and everybody react, that'd be different. But it's just you're trying to do it while you do the move. Like, dude, just have the glove on, man. At some point, you know what I mean?
Like almost super kick move. The glove, or like if you stun the person, you put the glove on, then do like a super kick or like a destroyer or something, then go into the move or something like that. I know what you're saying.
Yeah, my boy Chris, who I went to show with, the biggest Britt Baker fan. He's number one by a long shot. This is not a shot at Britt. It's just saying something a little I would tweak on a presentation. So don't beat me up, okay? Please don't beat me up. I'm not trying to get the smoke. I'm just saying. She could do a little bit more to add to the presentation of putting the glove on or just have the damn gloves on already. I don't know. It just feels like it slows down the match. This match, good match. But like I said, I mean, from the crowd, people were trying to get chants started, people trying to keep people into it. And it was just like halfway through, it was just like everybody sat down and started looking at their phone. Not me, personally. I actually watched the whole match, but I saw a lot of it. Serena D blindsided Britt after the match. Then started wrenching on Britt's leg. Queen Aminata came to the ring and made the save. The Queen and Professor brawled until D rolled out of the ring. Queen Aminata helped Britt Baker to her feet. So, then we had Renee. It looks like this Queen Aminata Serena D thing is a thing. Then we had, I would like actually someone to join the D dojo at some point. The dojo of one. So are you training yourself? I don't know. Is anybody in the D dojo? Did I miss it?
I don't think so. I don't think she's ever had anybody to it.
Yeah, it's like the dojo. It's like the dojo of one. All right. Renee interviewed Hook backstage, asking if he had any information about the attack that took place earlier. Hook, you start stuff with my family. I'm going to find out who did it. And I'm going to come for you. So, he delivered his lines. I thought it was fine. I thought he did it well. And then, of course, immediately start trying to think, who did it? Who did it? I love a good whodunit in wrestling. So the next person backstage was Christian. Christian was backstage. The business at hand is the 5-year anniversary of Dynamite. You haven't seen anything yet. I am the face of AEW. Actually, he said, I am the face of TNT, now and forever. I am the patriarch. I am your father figure. And soon enough, I will have it all. Hook, line, and sinker. Hook, line, and sinker. Do you think that's a coincidence, JR?
No.
That's all.
And he's, he talks about being the patriarch.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, if it was reported, I think it was reported this week. Luchasaurus was found. He was gravely, very sick with pneumonia. I heard that he was found collapsed. Best wishes go out to Luchasaurus, Kill Switch, because that is not something to play with. I suffer from bronchial issues, and the thing the doctor has always told me, ensure that doesn't turn to pneumonia because of how bad it is. So, unfortunately, it's possible because of Kill Switch / Luchasaurus's illness, put him on the shelf for an extended amount of time. There could be some pivoting or changes, and so that could be why potentially Christian could be going into a singles feud right now with Hook because of that serious illness that Luchasaurus has.
Well, thank you for taking away from my news and notes for the rest of the at the end of the show. I appreciate that. Good job.
I apologize.
Right.
We shoot, man. We shoot from the hip, but there's no pre-planning this. Yes,
pneumonia in both lungs is what he had when he collapsed. So I hope Luchasaurus, a.k.a. Kill Switch, he gets better soon. That's not something to play with. When I had COVID, I had pneumonia in both lungs and lots of drugs, and I always said I wouldn't have wished that on my worst enemy. So, really, hopefully he gets better. All seriousness, all joking aside, as far as him stepping on the thing, I hope Luchasaurus truly gets better soon. Renee interviewed AEW Women's World Champion Mariah May backstage, and this was my favorite segment on the show. Okay. Willow Danielle's the definition of failing up. And then she says because she, lost in the previous title, lost her TBS title, and now she's trying to come after the world title. And she said Willow comes in and says, "You're the shady bitch here," and then they started fighting. And the women brawl. Christopher Daniels says, "Not how we do things." Well, it's wrestling, so it's definitely how we do things. And they broke it up. So it looks like we may be getting Willow versus Mariah May soon, which makes me very, 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 very happy because I love me some Willow. But she came out swinging. Then we have the most awkwardly placed wrestling match in the history of awkwardly placed wrestling matches. Private Party versus the Iron Savages. Shit, this would have struggled the main event dark back in the day, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, no. Now, this is not an insult to Private Party and Iron Savages. It's more of an insult to how they have been booked recently. That why are you in the second hour of AEW Dynamite is the question I'm asking. Love my boy Zay. Love my boy Mark Quinn. Don't get me wrong. And one day I'm going to go to Titty City. I'm going to get my head all up in them titties. Okay? I'm all about all this. I love these two acts. Don't get me wrong. But how they have been presented, are they second hour of Dynamite material, sir?
No, and I'll put it this way. I'm gonna say this. Years ago, they tried to do something with this. It'd basically be like all of a sudden you put God rest his soul, Chris Candido, Skip of the Body Donnas versus Barry Horowitz in the spot.
Yeah.
It's like the way you book them, you're putting, like, for so long, you're putting them in this position that is a very important time on AEW Dynamite.
Yeah. So, all right. It is what it is. They just beat, Private Party beats Bronson and Boulder with gin and juice. It was very quick. It was basically an AEW dark match. It lasted like less than 5 minutes. Zay let me get something off my chest. At the beginning of this year, we walked into Dynamite and said, "New year, new champs." And I swear we meant every word. I don't care if my hand is messed up. We will be your next AEW Tag Team Champions. Young Bucks, I hope you're listening. We beat you once, and I promise you we can do it again. Let's do this right here, right now. The Young Bucks appeared on a ramp. Basically, you can't have your anniversary show without them. I was very adamant about that. You needed as many members of the Elite as healthy as possible on the show, so I am very happy that the EVPs come out there. They did the thing where they teased the match, and they said, right now in Pittsburgh, and then they're like, "No, we don't want to do this match in Pittsburgh. We got limited dates, and we're not going to waste one of our crappy town like Pittsburgh." Jack Perry ambushed Private Party from the back. The Bucks in the ring, making it a 3-on-2 beatdown. Shibata sprinted to the ring, and the Elite wanted no part of a fair fight. Hold on a minute. Private Party, you've been a thorn in the side of the Young Bucks since the beginning of Dynamite. How about Private Party Shibata team up this Friday on Rampage against Jack Perry and the Bucks right here in Pittsburgh? Bang, bang. So we're getting... Now, I will say this, and I could be wrong. There are many more insiders that will know more than me. I always say I have no inside. This is just me as a fan. Me as a fan, JR, tell me if I'm wrong. Feel free to disagree with me as you so often do. This feels like this is Daniel Garcia's spot, and he just hasn't signed the contract. And since he hasn't signed the contract, they've just kind of put Shibata in this place.
I could absolutely see it because, I like Shibata a lot. I tell a story all the time. I remember when I saw Shibata wrestle Silas Young, the last real man, Death Force R in 2016. It was one of the greatest things I've ever seen because they just beat the crap out of each other for the throughout the duration of the match. But, I wouldn't think with the way that he's been presented, Shibata would be in a TNT title match, going into it. But I will say this. Shibata, I don't know a lot of his history, but I feel like he's presented or he is a disciple of Inoki.
Uh-huh.
So, like, in Wrestle Dream last year was like, it was paying homage to Antonio Inoki, the late Antonio Inoki. So I could see why he's put in this position. So I could see it both ways. I see your point. I could see also why Tony Khan may want Shibata in this position.
And like I said, I have no inside information. I've never asked this. There are a few people I do may know. I've never asked it. I was just like, at a feeling, it just feels like there's an odd couple tag teams, and then there's this. It is just like, it's almost like Private Party and Shibata have like nothing to do with each other. You know what I mean? And so it's like, how would I make this make sense? Renee Paquette was backstage and welcomed MVP to AEW. MVP. Montel Vontavious Porter. I'm still calling him that. Yes, I have a big announcement to make. I'd like to take a moment. Prince Nana walked on the set and interrupted MVP. Whoa, last week in New York City, you were talking real spicy about me and Swerve. A lot of people forget that Prince Nana used to be a wrestler. I'll lace up the boots right here in Pittsburgh just for you. Now, I got excited. I thought we was going to get an MVP Prince Nana match on Dynamite or Rampage. I was like, yeah, let's go. Because honestly, I could probably go online and find it, but I had never seen Prince Nana wrestle. So I thought that would have been pretty cool. And, Prince Nana coffee on a pole match. Let's go. What you ready? And then Prince Nana, then MVP says, that sounds like a complaint. I don't deal with complaints. But he does. Who? And he said, I'd like to introduce you and AEW to the manager of our complaint department, Mr. Shelton Benjamin, the former gold standard. Shelton Benjamin is in the AEW zone. What do you think about this big pickup?
Let me tell you. I don't know if you'll find as many fans who, as big of a fan of Shelton Benjamin as I am. I love me some Shelton Benjamin from the University Minnesota Gophers, and going into WWE being part of Team Angle, the world's greatest tag team with Charlie Haas, getting to a singles run, Intercontinental Champion. I love me some Shelton Benjamin. I think he's one of the greatest athletes to ever step foot in the wrestling ring. I think a lot of individuals discredit him because he's never been known for his mic work, but I feel like he more than makes up for that in his 20-plus year career for what he does in the ring. And I really cannot wait to see what they do with Shelton Benjamin, because you look at a lot of talent in AEW that he could have some tremendous matches with, as he's probably facing towards the twilight of his career, but he still looks great. He still looks to be in phenomenal shape, and he could still go. So I think this is a solid move by Tony Khan to bring him into AEW, especially with the Hurt Syndicate.
So I will say this about Shelton Benjamin. After his 20 years of looking 25, the man finally looks 30. He's actually aged a little. I didn't think it was possible. I was pretty sure Shelton Benjamin was a vampire. He's like, you can actually see that he's a little older now, and he still looks 10 years younger than me. So, congratulations to Shelton Benjamin. You finally aged. I think it's makeup. I think it's a lie. He's a vampire. Shelton Benjamin is a vampire. He just does not age. So, he gets buffer. He gets more menacing. He does not age at all. I noticed the one thing I noticed. I was like, oh, this man actually looks like he's been wrestling like 10 years, not 20. He still doesn't look as old as he is. He still looks 15 years younger than he is, but he actually looks older than, he did before. I just thought that was it was crazy. It was like this shock when I saw him on screen. I was like, oh, that man can age, which I did not think was possible.
I mean, the other thing too is that, when he left WWE in his first run, I believe it was around April 2010 is when he was released from his contract. And since then, he had been running the Indies and New Japan for a period. But he hasn't had, like, even when he came back to WWE, he wasn't wrestling a full schedule. So, like, he still, I think, has, you know, he's currently, I believe, he's close, almost 50. And, you know, you see these guys who could still go at that age because it's not just the age, it's the wear and tear. You know, it depends on how many miles you put on that vehicle. So, I mean, he still, I think, has a good few years on him, especially in AEW, where he's not going to be expected to wrestle, you know, every week, let alone 3 or 4 times a week.
All right. Because of the ending of the next match, I am not going to go through the play-by-play on this match. It's AEW World Champion American Dragon Bryan Danielson versus Kazuchika Continental Champion and Rainmaker Kazuchika Okada. The stipulation was the Continental, it was title versus title, but the Continental title was only up for the first 20 minutes of the match, and then the world title. Apparently, this was amazingly confusing to MJF, who I was pretty sure went to college and is a fairly intelligent person. The fact that one title's only on line the first 20 minutes and then the other title's on the line for the next hour. I mean, is it overbooked? Sure. But it's not complicated. Would you say, JR?
No.
Yeah, it's like this is not a complicated stipulation. You know, I love my Max. I love my MJF, generational talent, but he must think wrestling fans are really, really stupid, which, do I got a lot of argument on that one? No, not really. But, yes, this match was cool. Okada, kind of stalled until the 20 minutes were up. And then Nigel said, now Okada has nothing to lose. And then it's like they started wrestling at this point. And they put on the banger for the next however many minutes that it went on. Danielson covered Okada with kicks and chops. Okada hit another drop kick. Danielson secured Okada's wrist and hammered Okada with the heel shots to the jaw. Okada connected with the Rainmaker clothesline. Okada had Danielson phased after forearm strikes. Danielson got back to his feet and battered Okada with repeated shots and a rolling elbow strike. Okada nailed Danielson with a running knee strike for a near fall. Danielson clocked Okada with a Rainmaker. Okada planted Danielson on his neck. Claudio Castagnoli and Pac walked to the ringside. Danielson managed to grab Okada in a black side and scored a pin. So, Kazuchika Okada, $72.2 million a year wrestler. He's the highest paid player in sports history. First loss in AEW. Is it used to put over a young up-and-coming talent? Is it used to get the revenge of the elite? No, it is a backslide at the AEW Dynamite anniversary. Now, I will say, JR, before we talk about what led to in this match, what do you think of Okada's first loss in AEW being that?
Man, the first thing I thought about, Harry Von Erich winning the NWA World Heavyweight Championship by a backslide. It was like, wow, like you don't see a lot of big matches ending in a backslide, especially not today. I literally cannot. If you ask me, you could say, Jar, you could get your $5 million. Asking the question: when was the last time a championship match was decided to be a backslide? And I there's no way I would be able to tell you. It's just not common. So, as far as him losing, he didn't bother me. I mean, it's Danielson versus Okada. I mean, it was the third in their series. It's one of those. I think the match was very important. I actually probably would have built it at least by 2 or 3 weeks, because of the fact is, the first one was at Forbidden Door. The second one, I was at Wrestle Kingdom. So I would have built it up for at least a couple weeks, but at the same time, like, it really didn't bother me. Eventually, everybody needs to have a loss, and I mean, he lost to the AEW World Heavyweight Champion. And it's kind of like, with the backside, it's kind of almost like a fluke finish.
Yeah. It was a distraction finish because he was looking at, Claudio and Pac, and I understood why they would come out. Their whole thing is they're trying to protect Danielson so he can take this ass whooping from Moxley and WrestleDream. They want it to be Danielson. They don't want it to be anybody else to get that scalp. They wanted it to be Danielson. So after the match, Okada then, he's pissed off, hits Danielson with the Rainmaker, right? After the match, he flipped off Pac and Claudio because they were distracting him. Claudio and Pac got in the ring, held up Danielson. Moxley and Marina Shafir came to the ring. You think this is about me? Is that what you said? Let's get something through your simple-minded brain. None of this is about me. I'm planning for something bigger than myself. If any of this was about me, I'd put you out of your misery years ago. Who is forcing Jon Moxley's hand in all of this, wondered Excalibur. Wheeler Yuta sprinted to the ring with the hammer to come to aid of Bryan Danielson and Moxley. Mox snuck up behind Wheeler and dared Wheeler to use the hammer. Danielson and Yuta brawled with Pac and Claudio as Moxley retrieved the hammer from Yuta. Claudio, Pac, I'm sick of you two treating me like I'm a child. This is what Wheeler Yuta said. I'm not a child. I am my own man. I can make my own decisions. I can fight my own fights. Speaking of fights, next week, Title Tuesday, which AEW is going to be on Tuesday this week. If the two of you want to get to Bryan Danielson, you have to go through me too. Next week, Title Tuesday, Bryan Danielson and Wheeler Yuta against Claudio and Pac. Tony Khan has made this official for next week, said Excalibur. So, yes, special programming, AEW Dynamite Title Tuesdays on TBS next Tuesday at 8 Central from Spokane Arena in Spokane, Washington. So, be excited for that. I want you to wildly speculate. Who do you think is behind Jon Moxley?
Oh, my God. I like you asking that question. We could be here for another 2 hours talk. I like this with...
Just give me one name. Because I know that the one that's going around online, everyone knows that one. So the
spicy option is Shane McMahon.
Spicy option is Shane McMahon, which I said would send an atomic bomb, would send a shockwave, quote, through the wrestling world, right?
Yeah, and this is the reason why. And I always say this, you and I talk about this off the air, but like, what made such a difference in WCW was something that was never seen before on American television with Scott Hall and Kevin Nash, and it was like the Outsiders, right? And it was like, oh my God, this is crazy! Like this is real, and we know because of social media, because of dirt sheets, it's very hard to capture like that kind of unexpected type of moments. Very, very few times have we ever been kind of caught off guard, I would say, in the last decade, especially in the last decade. And you're like, and we talk about what's going to generate buzz, what's going to generate, attract more viewers. I'm like, it's hard because of where we're at now. We, in our wildest dreams, I don't think nobody could have imagined that a McMahon would join AEW in any capacity. It was unthinkable. But everybody likes Shane. Like, it doesn't matter who it is. People who don't like each other, people that hate each other, have all come to a consensus that Shane McMahon is extremely likable. He's a good dude.
He's the good one. He's the good one.
He gets it. So for him to be the one behind this, and I think the reason why I would say this would be my pick too, is there is a connection with Pac, Claudio, Moxley, and Marina. They all previously worked for a company based out of Connecticut. So it kind of like, unless something happens in the next week or so, with Wheeler Yuta, like, I'm standing by that. Like, I see something, and again, because of what it can do, like, yeah, like it's that shot. Because at that point, if that doesn't do it, I don't know what the hell is going to do it to bring something to that jolt, as you said, that shockwave to AEW.
I believe, and I'm Googling this right now, I believe Marina Shafir, when she was in WWE, I believe she was on Raw Underground.
Yeah.
Yes,
it was her. I think it was it her and Jessamine Duke that were down there?
Yeah. Yeah, and they were on there, and she fought, and I believe she won. And then I know Shayna came in and fought, too. So, I mean, yeah. WWE Raw segments next. Yeah, I just pulled it out there. Yeah, so pulled it up.
And Claudio and Pac and Moxley were all in WWE during the time where Shane was there.
Yeah, so
when he came back in 2016.
All right, so yeah, Shane is the hot one. Shane is the one that people are saying, even though I don't believe it. Because think about it. If you think about this crazy thing, Shane, if he joins, will be the only McMahon actively in professional wrestling.
Correct.
That's crazy to think about. And he would be actively in professional wrestling in AEW, not in WWE, anything affiliated with WWE. That would be crazy. That would make an impact. I won't believe it until he walks through that door, right? So, I had a wild, kind of outside the box, probably stupid. It would get probably panned. Shad Khan.
I'm going to hang up the phone now.
His son got dropped on his neck. What, was that April? Has really anything been done to the Young Bucks in the Elite after dropping Tony Khan on his neck?
No, but...
the dude came from the backstage, his first time on-screen appearance, to look at his son. And what has his son basically done? Nothing. Has done nothing about it. If you want to go long-term storytelling, again, it would probably be panned. But figured it was fun to just fucking bring up. Shad Khan.
This is going to be Urban Meyer who wants vengeance for getting fired.
I mean, honestly, Shad Khan, there's an actual direct thing that happened this year that would lead to him hiring a group to take out the Elite and take out the company. Hey, son, you have proven you can't run this company. This is not your company anymore. There's actually a story there. Now, again, it would be panned. I think it would be destroyed. I think everybody would hate it. But again, I could come on here and talk about the same thing everybody else is talking about, or I could throw out some wild speculation that makes no sense. And that's what I decided to do. I am saying it doesn't make sense. It's not going to happen. Just what if it did happen, JR? What if?
I hope he can cut a promo.
Does he have to? I mean, he's the rich guy. He's the billionaire.
At some point, he would have to cut at least one promo.
Yes. He's like, hey, he's just like, all he had to say is, you hurt my son. That's it. But I don't know. He's not going to get involved. I don't think he'll ever be like an on-screen character. But it was just like, I was sitting here this morning. I was a little high, admit it. Had a gummy in me. So if you're like, man, this sounds like a high state. Yes, it was very much. I was high. And I had a gummy. And it popped up into my head. So, yeah, you're like, man, that was stupid. It was. It was a high thought. But it was just a wild speculation type thing. So
I think the other thing that I would say this, if anybody has not seen the McMahon documentary, it's insane. And I'll just leave it at that. But there is parts that talk about the family. And you can tell based on the discussions of the people that they interviewed, including Shane McMahon. Shane's a little bit different from the rest of his family. He seemed different both from a personal as well as a professional level. I think it's something now that the fact that his family does not own the company I don't feel like there's anything that could be conceived as ill will, especially for the fact that his father made over $2 billion off of that sell at least. And, that his mother is not involved anymore since she stepped down as CEO back in 2010. That his sister is not involved, and that pretty much that his brother-in-law, Triple H Paul Levesque, is only
he's just management. He's management.
Yeah. He's the basically he's the booker, and that's it. So I don't feel like any sort of family ties to WWE. I feel like they've all ceased to exist now because of the sell and merger with UFC and TKO. So and he just always wants to be different. And I think because there's really no place for him in WWE now, and I think there is a spot for him in AEW because it would be exciting, it would be different, and I think it would really bring be something unique. Yeah. I shouldn't say unique. Different and exciting for AEW. Those are the correct terms to use for both him and the company. I'm
just saying, it's like a lot of people like it's how you brought up and all that stuff. People can't understand you, right? I know Shane is significantly older than Tony Khan, but they were both raised pretty fucking rich. You know what I mean? So, it's kind of, he could understand where Tony Khan is. And I think he could bring some value to the wrestling company. We know he can cut a promo. He will get physical. He will do crazy shit. I think he would be a good impact. But let me say this. My big thing is the shockwave it'll send through wrestling. There are people that will have said flat out they'll never watch AEW. I think they tune in that next Wednesday to see what's going on.
There's no way it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
I mean, in 20, honestly, and you were there at WrestleMania 32, but that build up to 32 in Dallas in 2016 was not good because of a number of reasons. And literally, they pulled a rabbit out of Howard Shane McMahon because it was basically like he was done with wrestling for 6 years. When he left WWE, he sold his stock to go on his own and that's kind of he covered in the documentary a little bit. But he's just a different cat, but going back to it, you said Shockwave. It's something that it's basically what we thought happened in 2001, where WWF at the time purchased WCW. It was unthinkable. It wasn't even like in the realm of possibility, and that's something I think was like Tony Khan. And I'll leave with this. Something you and I talked about is we've talked about it for now, and not to rehash old stories, but sometimes there's been issues in AEW and backstage with politics or people not wanting to do work, and being a bad guy's tough. It's not easy. And sometimes you need that, as the term that you coined, is the hatchet man. You need a guy to really be in charge of talent relations. As in Christopher Daniels, he's been doing it, but that's not a role that he had experience in. So to be like, hey, that guy was an executive, that guy has done everything in the previous company. He knows probably what it means to be the bad guy, because you have to be a bad guy in talent relations as much as you have to be a good guy, just like in any supervisory role. So I think it would be, potentially, if it's not just on screen but off screen, very beneficial for AEW as well as the talent, because the talent wants Law and Order too.
Yeah, dude, there's a lot of ways this could be good, but I even said it. I mean, of course, I have if you're going to do it, you do it at World's End. You have them come in at the end of World's End, because World's End, let me make sure I got this as correctly as I'm thinking of why this makes sense. So World's End would be the last show of the calendar year, I believe. Yeah, December 28th. So the first show of the new year, the first show that will probably be simulcast on AEW, on AEW, is Wednesday, January 1st. It's simulcast on HBO Max. Just imagine the first show on the TBS TBS of the new Dynamite contract is Shane McMahon on the appearance of that on TBS. Shane McMahon on the first show that you can watch on HBO Max and TBS at the same time, the first simulcast. What kind of blow is that? What kind of number do they pull in?
Oh, it's $1 million easily.
Yeah.
Even without the simulcast, it's $1 million. It has to be $1 million easily.
Yeah. So it's like, the first show is January 1st. New Year's. You do it in Jacksonville or wherever you do it. But, yeah, there you go.
And I say this. If Shane McMahon, and I'll stand by this, and you always say never, and I love talking absolutes. If Shane McMahon joining AEW does not send viewership and excitement like to AEW, I mean, you have to follow it up. Don't get me wrong. There has to be stories because, like, the beginning, I remember this, the beginning of the Invasion angle when they, in 2001, started off great and it petered out very quickly. But, like, in the initial onset, the first 2 or 3 weeks, if it doesn't increase everything, then there is nothing that's ever going to do it. Because there's nothing else it seems remotely possible to be able to make that big of a move with short of spending $60 million to sign half of WWE's talent away.
Yeah. I'm down. And then how are we going to results? There was an AEW Rampage that actually was going on while we were recording. The Elite versus Katsuya Shibata in Private Party. If you have not watched Rampage, go ahead and skip to the end because I'm going to go ahead and go through the results. Private Party pinned the Young Bucks in the exact same way they did that first time. They were going for the Meltzer driver, and they rolled them up. So that was it.
Let me just say, Private Party is a team since the first year of AEW that I really hoped that something happened with them. So I'm glad to see that they're being potentially put in position to get in that title picture because there was a lot of excitement with Private Party on the initial first couple of months of AEW that, due to a number of reasons, fell off by the wayside. So it's good to see Private Party, AEW Originals getting that spot. And
they were teasing that Stokely Hathaway was joining the tag team division, and during the match, he was watching Private Party. Camille and Chris Statlander looks like they're heading towards fighting each other. Camille shoulder checked Chris Statlander on an in-stage interview, so we're going to see what happens there. She beat someone named Zoe Lynn in 16 seconds. I was watching this match live. I looked down at my phone, and it was over.
Yeah, I believe she won with the spear. I believe
it was like a rolling DDT. Yeah, so it was just domination. Then Queen Aminata defeated Harley Cameron with the brain drain, and then Serena D came out to attack her. Then Britt Baker came out with a chair to take out Serena D and help Queen Aminata. So finally, there was a face with a friend. I love that. Orange Cassidy and Kyle O'Reilly beat Bill and Brian Keith. At the end of the match, Chris Jericho came in the match to try to make a save. Rocky Romero attacked him. Big Bill then attacked Rocky. They took out Big Bill, and Kyle O'Reilly and Orange Cassidy hit a combination orange punch leg sweep for the win. And that was Rampage. They just announced a bunch of matches for Collision tomorrow. Let's see. Hold on a second. I know one was a triple threat match for a title shot at AEW Wrestle Dream, which is the House of Black. I think it was Malachi and Brody versus Private Party versus Top Flight. So, I mean, let's say, who do you think's going to win that match? And again, this was taped on Thursday. I'm not going to go through the spoilers. I'm just going to tell you what matches were on there. Darby Allin versus Johnny TV. The Outrunners wrestled Grizzled Young Veterans. And I'm just saying it in order. I'm not saying who won what. Trish Adora wrestled Willow Nightingale. Willa Yuta wrestled Beef. The Premier Athletes wrestled Orange Cassidy and Kyle O'Reilly, who seem to be getting pushed as an actual tag team. Mercedes, let's see, Hologram, Commander, Nick Wayne, and Action Andretti in a 4-way match. And that's it. And yeah, so those are all the matches for it, for Collision tomorrow. So it should be pretty straightforward. Collision's going to have problems tomorrow. So not only do they have college football, which is on all day, and the big Saturday game, which I think it might be like Ohio State and Oregon or some stupid shit like that. There's some kind of big game tomorrow. And then, WWE Bad Blood is also tomorrow. So, yeah, it might be a low number for old Collision. And, yeah, you shouldn't react too hard to that if it's a low number because, it's a pay-per-view. One's a pay-per-view, one's, like regular match. So, let's see. Hold on a second.
Yeah, there'll be... the WWE PLE will start 2 hours before Collision and probably run through Collision. And then there's also UFC on tomorrow. There's a lot of stuff on tomorrow. And baseball playoffs are on. All four divisional series games are on tomorrow.
Shit.
On top of that.
Yeah, even Florida State and Clemson starts at 6 Central, which would have been a big game. I know ESPN's probably pissed about that. It was supposed to be like a top 10 game, and yeah, now it's a game that they're hoping is not an embarrassment. So, so there's a lot of shit on. So Collision number probably won't be that well, which, honestly, it probably is not going to be that good during college football season. We're going to have to get out the college football season before you may see that number go back up. So, but that's it. We've talked a lot. We're done, right? You got anything else? JR?
Hey, no, it's just, it's a great time of the year. I know some parts are colder, some parts are hotter, but everything's going to start eventually level out. Enjoy the fall season. And we're very close to a lot of interesting things happening as we're encroaching on the holiday seasons from Halloween through Christmas with AEW as they're entering their fall season starting with Wrestle Dream as we progress towards the World's End. So, like I said, as I mentioned earlier, just focus on you, focus on what you love. Don't worry about the naysayers, and everything will work its way out.
All right, now I'm going to leave you with buy our merch. Go to Chop Tees. Click on that Social Suplex. Social Suplex. They have Social Suplex material, One Nation Radio, Keeping It Strong Style, all the shows on it. Of course, All Things Elite, Trish and Sarah podcast. Do it. Good Lord. I am so bad. We have so many shows. I don't even know, all the shows that we have. I've been saying the same few. We got Tunnel Talk, the Trish and Sarah Wrestling Podcast, Chris Arts, Enjoy Wrestling. Make sure you check that one out. Just check them all out. We got a lot of wrestling out there. We got a lot of shows. Yeah, Keeping It Strong Style is, that's the ace. Wrestling Art, the match guide, and it literally has a list on the back of the match guide that has the coolest shirt. It's the shirt it's of the show shirts. There's the AEW 5-year anniversary edition, right? And they have a ringer style shirt, and it lists all the greatest matches in AEW history on it. So, dude, it's on the back. Just list it out. So, definitely. That's old Sam, friend of the show, Sam. So, you definitely want to pick up that shirt. Buy all the merch. But, buy the All Things Elite shirt first. Buy it first. It's okay. They don't know I said it. Just buy ours first. Okay. Now, but with that, we will call it a day. Like I said, talked a lot on a Friday night. I actually got to do the show uninterrupted. If you could tell, I didn't have to stop and work at any point during the show. I know I usually cut it out, so you had no idea what was happening anyway, but I didn't have to work, so that was cool. Thank you, JR, for joining me tonight. It'll be cool to get Austin's thoughts on all of this, all the money side of it next week, but you want to leave them with your Twitter before we bounce?
At TGIF Fester, all things nostalgia travel, and we throw wrestling every now and then because I like to keep it crazy.
Yeah, even see, he loves me so much. Even his Twitter's named after me. Thank God it's Floyd. That's what TGIF stands for. Thank God it's Floyd. Just so that is so nice of him. But you can follow me at Floyd Johnson Jr. or the show at AT Elite Pod or at Austin Sumowitz. I already spelled it at the beginning of the show. Ain't doing that again. Thank you for all listening. Whether you do a second, minute, hour, however long you listen to the show, we appreciate your listening and downloading every week. Support Social Suplex, support people that just like to get on here and talk about the show, talk about what they love. It is fun. Buy all the shirts, buy all the stuff. No more commercials from me. I will leave you how I always leave you. Whether it is home, work, or school, always do your best to be elite.